Estudiantes, it's been a while since we've taken our last set of flip notes, so just some friendly reminders for you before we get started. Make sure that you are filling out your notes completely and accurately. Make sure that if you have any questions or if there's something that you're confused about, you make note of that on your notes page so when we come to class or when you come to class the next time, you can get those questions answered. Also, it's very important that when I ask you to pause and or stop and practice, that you do hit pause and see where you're at and do those practice problems, and then of course check your answers. That gives you kind of some feedback as to if you understand the concept that we're learning or if you still need some further explanation when you come to class the next day. I would also encourage you to rewind if there's something that you don't understand and just kind of listen to it again or maybe hear that explanation. All right, so enough of that. Let's get started. Our topic for today is demonstrative adjectives and demonstrative pronouns. So you may be saying to yourself, yes, you know what an adjective is, and yes, you know what a pronoun is, but not necessarily know where that demonstrative idea comes in. All right, well, let's talk about it. So what are demonstratives? Demonstratives indicate where something is located. So in Spanish, they show if something is close to, not as close to, or far from the subject. So it's all related to the location to the subject. So for example, if I had a pair of earrings in my hand, then I would say these earrings. Versus if there were earrings across the room, I would point to them and say those earrings. So in English, our demonstrative adjectives are this, that, these, and those. Okay, just a reminder, an adjective is a describing word. So again, we're describing the location in relation to the subjects. Now remember also in Spanish, our adjectives must agree with nouns in number and gender. So remember, I call those happy sentences. We have to have agreement. All right, so that's kind of what makes demonstrative adjectives a little bit more complex than what we have in English because we've got two possible ways to say this. If I'm talking about an earring, this earring, este, versus if I'm talking about this eraser, esta goma. So este, esta, estos, and estas. And we're talking about things that are in close proximity to you. If something's a little bit further away, then it would be ese, esa, esos, or esas. Again, ese and esa, that. To make it plural, esos or esas, those. All right. Now in Spanish, we have an additional set of demonstrative adjectives to describe items way over there. So this is really emphasizing the distance, but really if you were to use ese and aquel, I think they're pretty much interchangeable, more or less. So don't get hung up on when to use which. So anyway, we've got aquel, aquella, both mean that, and aquellos and aquellas both mean those. All right, so here's your first opportunity to stop and practice, see if you understand how these demonstrative adjectives work. So I've got a picture on your notes as well as a picture that's on the screen, and I want you to write down the location of the manzanas, or apples, as they are related to Mickey. So how would you say these apples, this cell phone, that computer, those pencils, that award way over there, and those basketballs way over there. So I want you to go ahead and hit pause and do 1 through 6 on that front page now. All right, let's see how you did. You should have estas manzanas, aquel premio, aquellas pelotas de basquetbol, esa computadora, este celular, and esos lápices. All right. Again, a couple things that we notice. We've got agreement in number and gender with the nouns we're talking about. And then that demonstrative adjective goes before the noun. And then it also replaces that el, la, los, or las. So we don't say estas las manzanas. Nope, nope, nope. It replaces it. Okay, so go ahead and flip your notes over. Now we're going to talk about demonstrative pronouns. Okay, so as we just learned, now we're still talking about demonstratives are used to point out specific things or people in relation to the subject. But a pronoun, remember, replaces a noun. A pronoun replaces a noun. So in Spanish, of course, our pronouns still have to agree in number and gender with the nouns they replace. So for example, our demonstrative pronouns, instead of saying these earrings, then we're just going to say these when we're referring to the earrings. So if you'll notice, your chart is almost exactly the same except for one little difference. What is that one little difference? If you said accent on the first E, then you are correct. So if I want to say these, and I'm referring to, or this, if I'm referring to the earring, este. If I wanted to make something that was, talk about something that was feminine and singular, esta, estos, and estas. If something you're talking about something that's not close, again, same as our demonstrative adjectives, except we're just adding an accent on the first E. Ese, esa, esos, esas. And when you're saying these demonstrative pronouns out loud, there's really no difference in pronunciation. It's just the written accent is there when you're writing. And then finally, aquel and aquella and aquellos and aquellas are a little bit different because that accent is still on the E, not the A, as some people tend to do. The accent's on the E. Okay, and as I mentioned before, all demonstrative pronouns have accents. And here are some examples. Okay, so here's the setup. Let's say that you are in an open-air market in a different country, and you're looking at you walked into a store, you're walking into a little hut area, and you're looking at rings, okay? So you ask, ¿Cuánto cuesta este? And you're referring to a ring that you have in your hand. And so that question is asking, how much does this one cost? Instead of saying cuánto cuesta el anillo, you can just say cuánto cuesta este. And then the worker answers you, ese cuesta $10. That one costs $10. So maybe he or she is in a different location. And so they're saying that one costs $10. But then he or she responds again and said, aquel es más barato. So she's referring to another one over in a different location and saying that one over there is cheaper. Okay? So that's kind of how those demonstrative pronouns work. Again, instead of saying el anillo, el anillo, el anillo, we can replace it with that demonstrative pronoun. So here's your opportunity to para y practica, stop and practice. I've got 6 demonstrative pronouns that I would like for you to use. We're talking about the el reloj, the clock or the watch, and it's that one over there. So if you wanted to talk about that el reloj, what demonstrative pronoun would you use? Go ahead and hit pause and see how you do on these 6. All right, time to check our answers. That one over there, we're talking about el reloj, aquel reloj. This award, este premio. These ones, we're talking about the earrings, estos aretes. Those ones, and we're talking about los lápices, would be esos lápices. That one, ese celular. And those over there, aquellas manzanas. All right, make sure that you've got those accents written on your answer or on your notes page. And you also write down any questions that you have or any points of confusion that you have come across as you've watched these notes. And we'll go over those in class. Thanks for watching.